Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russell here from Porky's Corner. You know, don't you? You know, the voice of hardcore boxing. We say the things that nobody dare say. Now, I just want to welcome you all to our members area for video 9 of the month for August. And Chris, my good friend from the Northwest, is it Chorley?
Yeah, Charlie, that's it, Russ.
Chorley,
yeah.
That's where Ozzie Smith lives, isn't it? Chorley. Chris from near where Ozzie Smith lives. Ozzie Smith's Manor is on the channel. He's jotted a few things down that he wants to get off his chest. How are you doing, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate.
All right,
I'm good.
mate.
Glad to be back. So I just want to it's been a while. I think it's been about 2 months. So
yeah,
it's good to be back. So I was going to go dive straight into it. I just want to just get your thoughts and opinions on David Haye coming back. I can't believe this is actually happening. And you called it right. You've been saying it for the last 18 months. He will be back. And now we finally got it against his best mate. I just want to know what you think about it, really.
Well,
I've heard it, really.
But what you have to understand is this, right? We aren't going into too much detail. David Haye is very generous with his money. He's not tight. He doesn't think nothing of renting really expensive villas and having big parties and 30, 40, 50,000 pound catering bills, for these big extravagant deals that he has. He goes through money like wildfire. He don't think no to spending, I don't know, 300 grand on a roller that after a year's worth 150, that kind of thing. He plows through money. And when you spend like he spends, sooner or later you're going to run out of money, aren't you? And how's he going to get any money when nobody wants to work with him? Like Chisora don't want to work with him, and he don't want to take on novices, does he, and put his time into them. He only wants guys who are earning big money, which is usually heavyweights, isn't it? So what's the best thing for him to do? Well, best thing for him to do is hang around millionaire people like Joe Fournier. And if Joe Fournier says we're going to fight, there's money in it, David Haye will pull his skirt up and get shafted because he loves it. He loves being a whore. And that's what he is, a whore in the sport of boxing. No ifs or buts, he's a whore, mate, and he's ruining, people like him are ruining sport. They're taking out of the sport. When kids who are 5-0 are not getting a look in, they're coming back and pushing them to the bottom at queue. And this is just going to keep going on and on and on. While other people in boxing are struggling to get a living after the careers are gone. Because what's David Haye going to do? He's not going to be dedicated enough to train someone. He wanted dedicated training himself. His style was explosive, but it were all washed up by the time he got to fight Vladimir. It were all washed up. He were broken down in them camps against Fury. He pulled out them fights twice, costing Peter and Tyson thousands of pounds. He was held together by Papa Mache for Bellew fights. His toe couldn't even stand up in Vladimir fight. Look, and they're wheeling him out again for millions of pounds. Are they going to sell it as intense beef or raw luncheon meat or something? I don't know. Laughing luncheon meat. Whatever it is, or fishy fish. Look, at the end of the day, it's embarrassing for the sport of boxing, and all those involved need putting in prison for fraud. My opinion. I'm only saying what other people in the industry are saying. Your Steffi Bulls, your Dave Caldwells, all them sort of people, but they're not going to come out and say it, are they? Because they're scaredy cats.
I just think it highlights the current state of the sport. The fact that people who retire, like David Haye, can come back and get away with this.
Getting away,
and like you said, it's stealing limelight from the young talent coming through the levels at the minute, and it's like. And the thing that really eats me up and frustrates me is the fans buy into it. Like, you look at the comments on IFL, and there's like very few comments saying, "Oh, here we go again, he's back." Everybody's saying, "Oh yeah, it'd be great to see David Haye back." On what planet are these people living on? Like, seriously. I mean, the 2 Bellew fights were enough, were they not?
Do you know what? The Bellew fights, he couldn't even get through him. His leg went earlier on in first fight. In second fight, his leg had gone again, hadn't it? Or his arm or something. He was dropping to bits, mate. He wasn't even sparring for both of them correctly. It was just turning up for the money. And they keep thinking that they can go out at sport and then come back into it, do a bit of pundit work, burn that money, max the credit cards out and think, oh, do you know what? I'll come back. Because last thing you lose is your power. Getting it all that shite. And they think that we're going to put up with this shite while MMA and UFC lot are laughing at us. They're laughing the cocks off at boxing fans. We're pricks. Boxing fans are pricks for putting up with this. So I'm making a stand, and a few other people are, and something needs to be done about it. These organizations like Triller and these California State Athletic Commissions, they're the ones that want throwing in jail. Look what they're doing. They can't see what they're doing. They're doing it for money, but they're killing the sport. Killing it, mate. It's in front of our eyes.
Created a monster though, and there's one man. I said this last time I was on. There's one man who's held responsible for this, who started it all. Eddie Hearn. You give it airtime, them YouTubers, all them years ago, and look at what it's spiraled into now. And it's took on the snowball effect. It's just getting out of control now, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Look what he's saying now, though. Eddie Hearn, he's saying, no, I don't think I'd get involved in YouTube fights again. It's a bit cringe. Only because he's had his snout pushed out.
Yeah.
You know
the thing
I mean?
is, though, they were all over it at first, weren't they?
Of course they were. Yeah,
they
love it. They love it, mate. They love it.
It cracks me up, that line. It's going to bring new fans to the sport. Well, where are all these new fans that it brought to the sport, Eddie?
They haven't brought no fans to it, have they? It's all bullshit.
Embarrassing, mate. Embarrassing. But yeah, do you think, say if David comes out, you know, and we know he's probably going to flog Joe, do you think he calls out Bellew or Chisora?
Yeah, I think it'll be Chisora. They'll create some fake beef. Bellew, I'm not so sure, but I wouldn't put it past them trying to invent something. But the Chisora one, I can see them shouting off about some sort of discrepancies or something and saying, let's settle it in ring like men and all that and blah, blah, blah. Chisora do it. He's as big a whore as him. And whoever buys into it is unbelievable. Who'd buy that?
People would buy it, though.
How could they sell that?
One last ride or loser leaves town.
Would that be 10 years after they fought?
It would be, yeah. It'd be knocking on, because I'm trying to think now. It'd be about 10 years.
Be getting on for 10 years, wouldn't it? Yeah, be getting on.
It would be. It's a while ago, because even then, when Chisora lost, people were saying Chisora should leave boxing. Then, when Chisora got iced, and here we are in 2021, and he's still hanging about. I mean, crazy.
Chisora runs straight through David. Runs straight through him.
Yeah, David's held together electrical tape.
He's held together by Papa Mache. Look, Chisora would go through David like a hot knife through batter. He'd go straight through him, mate. No messing about. No.
The thing is, when you're out for so long, I think, and you're not sparring actively, I feel like you lose your, especially with age goes on, you lose your punch resistance. And I think you saw that when David fought Bellew, because Bellew, I guess when he's put on that sort of size, yeah, he could hit hard, but realistically, it's not like Bellew walking around icing everybody his entire career, were it really?
No.
And
I agree.
And then he drops David like it were nothing in that second fight. So. Yeah. It's one of them. I just think it's embarrassing from David A. And I think if he somehow spins at this, because I think what will happen is he'll win. I don't think he might not say anything. I think it'll be a case of Chisora when he next fight says, "Yo, David, you know, this and that. Let's go for one last ride and this and that." And I think I can see it happening. As soon as I remember texting you. As soon as I saw them two break, what did I text you? I said, this fight is going to happen. They're going to spin it somehow. And you said, yeah, it's coming. Bad blood. That's what they'll sell it as, bad blood.
David A just needed an easy win to get into the mix for Chisora. Fournier will be in on the con. They're the con man, the confidence tricksters, pair of them. Confidence tricksters. I tell them to the face as well, the confidence tricksters. They're killing the sport of boxing. They can't see it. And when there's no left of boxing, when all bones have been picked out of boxing, these will be sat on the yachts laughing, or Fournier's yacht. I think, look at them boxing fans over there, like that.
It's true, and people wonder why MMA and UFC is just kicking boxing, kicking its ass, really, isn't it?
Taking over, isn't it, mate? It's taking over.
You know why though? Because like UFC, the matchmaking's so good, and like the show quality is so high, and it makes like boxing shows look like. I mean, what's getting served up at the minute? I mean, makes it look like horrendous compared to like. I mean, UFC like they do like one big show a month, like every 3 weeks, every month, and it blows whatever boxing does out of the water just because it's the best in fighting the best, and there's consistent talent coming through. As if in boxing, you're getting talent coming through, but nobody can get behind them because they're just jumping in for trinket belts, and then they're not sort of like working their way through the levels, as you like to say. And you know what I mean? It's just a mess, mate. At the minute, it's for me, somebody who's watched boxing for like since I was about 10. It's heartbreaking for me to watch because there's nothing like this. It's just not like it used to be. There's no fights you can say, "Oh, I'm looking forward to this fight," because it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Like Fury Joshua, I don't think it'll ever happen. I'm sure Fury's on his way out. So it's you know what I mean? Like, what else is there to look forward to?
Caleb Plant against Canelo apparently is a done deal.
Apparently, yeah, it's a good fight, but again, realistically, Canelo runs through him. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure Canelo just goes through him.
What we're going to say to is there's no Eddie Hearn involvement in that fight, is there?
No.
I wonder if he's on outside looking in now.
I think, to be honest with you, mate, you said it with Terry the other day. I think Eddie's in a tight spot now because if I was Eddie, I'd be worried because you got Canelo, who realistically can promote himself. He doesn't need anybody to do the talking for him because the name Canelo sells by itself, and everybody will get behind him and everybody wants to see him. And then you've got Anthony Joshua over here, and AJ don't need to pay Eddie a cut because AJ's name sells itself. And like we've said it, I said it last time we were on the thing. Like I've got a feeling that AJ is going to stick with Sky. I tend to agree with what you say. I feel like he seems to have his head screwed on. I think, like we said last time, it's the zone thing. It's a bit, and why go against something and take the risk when you can stick with Sky on a pay-per-view platform? It's safe, and people are going to pay to watch him. You know what I mean?
Eddie's ego will be dinted to fuck.
He'll be hurt, won't he?
If that happens, if Canelo stays with Al Heyman and PBC and on a fight-to-fight contract kind of thing, it's like an auction, isn't it? That it's people bidding for Canelo's fights now, and I think Joshua could do that. He could slip and slide on either TV, but I think he's trying to build a stable, and I think they'll play it safe with Sky.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet. I think this 258 management, they're cleaning up. They seem to be sniffing around some of the Olympic talent as well. That's just come back. I just think it's a safe move from Joshua. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan, but at the end of the day, he strikes me as somebody who's a bit of a businessman. So
yeah, good point that, Chris. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got his head screwed on. I mean, I remember when he first signed a Coley to the 258, and then you got a Coley with a world title now, and then you've got Buatsi as well with 258 now. Buatsi, we can go on about Buatsi, but I think Terry I think it was Terry or Rico, I can't remember. They made a good point last week where they said they think Buatsi's just holding out so they can sort of get an easy sort of win for a title, because I don't think he beats anybody for a title, Buatsi. Because you got to look at it, you've got Bivol. I think Bivol punches him around. I think Beterbiev probably ices him. And you've got Callum Johnson over here, and I think Callum Johnson rips through him. And even you've got the likes of like Craig Richards. I think even Craig Richards would rip through him. Yeah, I think so. To be honest with you, I think Buatsi's got one of them styles where it's all right looking slick, but put on him like we saw with that Croatian lad, not his last fight, the fight before. I know it was his first fight back after a bit of like about a year, but everybody was in the same boat. Everybody had not fought in a year, and he come back, and that Croatian lad, when he started putting on him, it looked a bit unsteady. But actually, I just think if somebody like a Callum Johnson were to get in there with him, I think they just blow for him, mate.
Oh, Callum Johnson blows Buatsi away, mate, with ease. It'd be an easy night's work for Callum Johnson, Buatsi. he's set about him with punch output, power, and general size because he's a lump, isn't he? The biggest
Yeah,
light heavyweight I've ever seen.
I don't think it goes 8 rounds, that fight. Them two fight, I don't think it goes 8 rounds.
I don't, but I favour him to beat Buatsi.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. That's the only thing with Buatsi. I just think they're just holding out. I never thought about it until I'm pretty sure it was Terry who said it. Until Terry said it, and I just think he was spot on with that. I think that for me probably makes most sense because you see for everybody from that like sort of era from the Olympics, like you've obviously got Okolie, and Okolie's kicked on now and won a world title. And you know, like there's so much potential for Okolie because when Joshua leaves town, you know what Okolie's going to do. Okolie's going to move up, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh,
and it's like, and you look at Buatsi, and Buatsi's not done anything, has he? You know what I mean? He's not done anything whatsoever. So it's just like he's lacking behind.
Yeah, I agree with you exactly on that, mate. I totally agree with you, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Buatsi. What do you think about Conor Benn's situation? You know, he's strutting around in his ice cream outfit with his Gucci sliders on, no socks, and his 200 grand watch. What do you think all that's about, considering he has won fuck all?
I want to see. I mean, there's many different people you could put Conor Benn in with. I want to see him in with Avanesian. And I think we could say I know we say like, you know, he needs to find the levels, you know, fight for a British. I mean, they'd sell that as he's past that. Why does he not fight for a European and go against David Avanesian? We saw what he did to Josh Kelly. It made Josh Kelly look like a novice. You know what I mean? And Josh Kelly's we're realistic. We would say he's not exactly a slouch, Josh Kelly. He's not a bad fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you was to put Josh Kelly and Conor Benn in together, for me, I think Josh Kelly could beat Conor Benn.
Yeah, I do.
I think that style. You know what I mean? That he's got that style, hasn't he? I think it would probably bewilder Conor for a few rounds, and then he might catch on towards back end of the fight. But I think if you throw them two in, I think Josh Kelly does him. And then you got to look at what David Avanesian did to Josh Kelly. Like a lamb to slaughter, weren't it?
What do you think about the Joe Joyce Usyk situation and Sam Jones not going into bat for Joe Joyce when they had the opportunity to serve papers, you know, WBO? Because it seemed to drag out ages, didn't it?
Yeah, it was going on, and like this thing with Sam Jones, like, again, he's just one of these leeches in the sport, and it's like he's one of the people why the sport's going nowhere because like you got a man like Joe Joyce, and let's be honest, I mean, like up until his last fight, I thought Joe Joyce would have given any of them a run for his money. I still think he does. He might have just had a bad night, but you got something like Joe Joyce, you can put him in with Usyk, and you know, and you can create this situation to get your man possibly in a role for like a world title shot. And he's not done that. I think with Sam Jones, I think there's been talks with Eddie down the line. He's probably just said, "Hey, just leave it." You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a weird situation because I think any sort of manager who's doing the job surely you go out to bat for the fighter. So it's a weird one, isn't it? I don't know what's gone on there.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But in my opinion, Sam Jones didn't go into bat for Joe Joyce when he had the opportunity.
No, I didn't. No.
He held on, trying to keep Frank and Eddie. In my opinion, his paymasters happy. There might have been something down the line said, look, we'll look after you if you just stay a bit quiet and just let it pan out. You can't do that in boxing. You've got to say, no, we're allowed to put pressure on WBO for my guy to fight Usyk. That's what they should have done, but they didn't. They tried to play mates with everybody. And down the line, they'll regret that. They might regret that because there might not be another opening for 2 years for Joe Joyce now. And look at Dylan White. Look at Huey, how long it takes to get back in mix. You know, it's ages. They're only fighting twice a year, these people. So he will regret that. They might never fight for a world title now, Joe Joyce.
I just think with the current state of the heavyweights, and I think you'll agree with me, it's the saying striking when the iron's hot. I mean, at the minute, the current heavyweight scene is just an absolute mess. Like a lot of the guests talk about it, and It is. It's just an absolute mess because these belts are going nowhere. I mean, realistically, Joshua Usyk, it's signed. I don't think it happens. I think Joshua will pull out with an injury or something. I can't see it happening. Fury Wilder 3. I mean, there's posters going up last night about that on Instagram. I know. I don't think it happens, to be honest with you.
What about?
And if it does,
go on, sorry.
Sorry, mate. I was going to say, if it does happen, I'd expect Fury to come through, but it's one of them. It's just I can't see it happening. For me, I think Tyson. I just think he just looks so. I don't know. He just. You'd think if the fight was going to happen, you'd think there'd be more publication of it all over social media, and there'd be more backing. There's nothing. There's no trailers. There's nothing. There's no like sort of like team on social media like bigging it up. It's just like the odd poster, and it's just. And for me, it just doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. You know
if it don't happen, this fight, right? People will say, "Porky, you was right." There's the boy that cried wolf. Nobody believes what he says now. None of them. Nobody believes anything that they say. They say things for effect every day. They invent stories every day in the media. All of them. Everything. There's something every day. Whether Tommy's picking his nose or he's birding him and not buying an house or they're buying a house. Who gives a fuck? What's that got to do with sport of fucking boxing? Or whether he said that Jake Paul looks stupid with a ginger beard or whatever. Who gives a flying fuck? Get in the fight. Get the fights on. What do you think about Tyson's quote saying he's coming off social media to Wilder fight? He says that every fucking fight. It's repeat, innit? And recycled repeat shit, innit?
Yeah, well, I sent you this last night, and I just think again, you know, he said this the last time he was meant to be fighting. He was like, "Oh, I'm going offline and this and that," and then the next day on his Instagram, he's promoting his clothing line, and it says in the bottom, posted by Team Fury. So Tyson's got his own PR team posting for him now, apparently.
Listen, mate, I couldn't lie straight in fucking bed, none of them. Moving on then from the adventures of Tintin, where does this all leave the can man, Dillian Whyte? Anybody who wants it can get it as long as they're over 40. Where's it leave him?
I think what you said, you've been saying it since he turned down that fight against Joshua. I think the boat has truly left for Dillian Whyte. I feel like he's the man who's been left behind. Because how does he get himself back into? And I think when he lost to Povetkin and Povetkin did him, I think that was the final nail in the coffin. Because it's like, how do you come back from it? Yeah, you beat him in the rematch, but it's like you got somebody like Huey on the sideline. Huey didn't get iced by Povetkin.
No.
And Huey don't get a look in. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's funny because like with Dillian Whyte, I mean, I personally am not his biggest fan, but for me, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. The guy's just a clown. He's an absolute clown. And I just think the fact he's still not fought for a European title, he's had, is it 7 pay-per-views, 7 pay-per-views?
Yeah.
And he'll be looking for his 8th. Yeah, six.
He's had, yeah. He's only looking for his 7th.
Looking for his 7th now, and he's calling out Chris Arreola, who just got flogged by Andy Ruiz.
Who's 41?
Michelin man.
41, fat as a pig, Michelin man.
Yeah, he's all ballooned up, and this is it with. I think with Dillian, he's another one. I just think he's in the sort of same boat as Conor Benn. People are willing to pay for him, but Dillian, he's not willing to get in there. You know, remember that I texted the other day where he said, "I've never avoided a fight in my life, and I've never turned down a fight. I'm the can man. Anybody, I'm easy to work with. Anybody, I just tell Eddie to get him for me." You got Joshua at Wembley for unified. You know what I mean? Not undisputed, but unified, 4 belts. Down. Then you got the Pulev situation. He knocked that back. And then you've got the Luis Ortiz situation, the Deontay Wilder situation. He knocked that back. And it's just like, well, you know what I mean? Dillian Whyte, he just, oh, mate.
It's a nightmare. What do you see happening with Josh Taylor now?
You know what it is? I forgot to say this to you earlier. It was funny because there was a comment on Instagram. I seen Sky post, with David Hay. And they were saying we can't wait to see the Haymaker back and this and that. And some guy commented on it, and I thought it was really good for normally for a Sky Boxing thing. You get full of casuals, and some bloke said you can go out to back for David A, but you couldn't go out to back for Josh Taylor in an undisputed fight. And I just think this guy, you know what I mean? Like, he's such a great talent, and you know he's got all the belts of that his weight division. And I just think, for where does he go now? I feel like he's probably going to try go up, isn't he, and fight Crawford, or I mean, could
Spence.
Yeah, Spence. You got Crawford or Spence. I mean, realistically, I mean, them two look like they ain't going to fight each other. So it would make sense for. I mean, I know Josh would be willing to go up, and I think he'd give him a run for his money. I really do. I think he could possibly. I think he could beat Spence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a tough fight, but I think he could beat Spence. Crawford, different kettle of fish, but I think Spence. I think he could take Spence. Yeah. On the points, and it'd be one of them. He'd have to nick it.
All right, Brooke
You know
Khan.
what I mean?
Brooke Khan. What do you think to that, Chris?
It's dog with fleas, isn't it? It's boring. That's no other way to put it.
Peter Fury, or as in Peter Fury's words, not worth a wank in a lavatory.
It's
Go
true.
on,
It's
Peter.
like he's right though. You know, and it's so boring now, and we've heard it recycled through the years, and it's like. There was a time where this fight for me was a great. I mean, I love Kel. I love Amir because Amir is like a local lad to me. He's like Bolton, so he's only around the corner. And I've always liked Kel, and I just thought this fight is this. I thought all these years ago when I was a bit young, I was like, this fight has to happen. Like when I was in secondary school, this was the fight that all me and my mates talked about all the time. It had to happen, and it never happened. And it was one of them. It's a shame because. Now it's one of them. You're always going to say what it could have been.
Yeah.
It's never going to be what it should have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What could have been? It could have been one of the best. It could have been an all-time British classic. You know what I mean?
Could have been a runner bean.
Should have been creepy bean.
Yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
But it's one of them. That's just the way boxing works, and it's just one of them fights that got away. I still don't think it happened. I mean, they're saying it's going to happen. I don't think it'll happen. It's just it's sad because I'd love to seen it, but
Usyk Joshua who wins?
Usyk.
All right. Brooke Khan who wins?
Khan. I just don't think Brooks got a lot enough left.
David A. Fournier.
David A. flogs him.
Yeah, knockout.
Do you reckon, here's a question, do you reckon David A. is on kangaroo meat for this fight?
Oh, yeah, I think he's on. He'll be on a bit more than that, won't he, for this fight? They'll both be juiced out of their minds, won't they?
Or is it Terry says the special blend of fruits and nuts?
Yeah, they'll be getting a special shake from Sheffield.
From the Ingle Lab. From the Ingle Lab.
They'll get one of them bullet shakes and diet whey and all that, and all fruit and berries in it, all special berries. Kid Galahad against Navarrete, is it? Who wins that if they fight?
Not a big Kid Galahad fan, but probably wins it. I just think he's got one of them styles. He's really hard to beat. He's got one. It's one of them. It's not very appealing to watch. It is a bit boring, but it works. And it's boxing at the end of the day. It's the sweet science, isn't it? Hit and don't get it.
Dave Allen against Babik. Who wins that if they fight?
I hope Dave beats him, but probably see Babik probably flogging him.
You reckon, yeah?
I don't know. I think they're both. I mean, Dave, it's wasted talent, but I think when you've been out for so long, I think somebody like Babik with his punch output, I just think it might just be a bit too much for Dave. But I'd be backing Dave all the way. I just think Babik's just a gimmick, isn't it? You know.
What do you think about Tommy Frank coming off 2 losses, getting a vacant British title shot against 6-3-1 Matt Windle? That's a gift, isn't it?
Yeah, he was going to fight Kyle Youssef, wasn't he? But
Kyle beat him 3 times in amateurs.
yeah, bit interesting to see. But yeah, it's a gift, and yeah, I mean, you said it the other day. It's like the British boxing control. I mean, what is it? Robert Smith said you can't get a belt if you're off a loss.
Yeah.
And he's fighting for a title off a loss, and it's
2 losses, 2 losses.
2 losses. Yeah, exactly. It's just the walking contradictions, mate. This is what I mean with the sport. It's why the sport's just on its ass, basically. It's an absolute mess. You know what I mean? But you got to wish him well. I hope Tommy beats him. You know what I mean? But it's one of them. You lose interest, like when somebody loses 2 times and then they're fighting for a British title. It's like, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, what happened to getting some wins and building some momentum, right? You know,
Yeah.
it defeats the objective. It defeats the objective. You know, you win, you may go through the ranks and you keep winning. You know, you end up at the top end of the sport. You don't lose and then you fight for a belt. You know what I mean? It just defeats the whole objective for me.
Yeah. Okie dokie then. Well, listen, thanks for coming on, Chris. It's been a pleasure to have you back on the Porky Express train.
Yeah, I appreciate it, mate. It's good to be back.
Keep our members happy. I'll have to get you on every week if you want, Chris. I know your shifts are a bit hard, aren't they? Because you always work till late, don't you?
Yeah, it's work. It's like work and then gym, and like by the time I'm getting in, it's just dead late, and it's just like you just work, and then I gotta do all my meals and stuff and cooking. It's a bit hectic at the minute, but yeah, I'll find time, mate. There's the next few weeks. I was going to ask you, what did you think of the Warrington card?
I think it's all right.
Josh Warrington.
I think it's all right. I think he gets beat though. I think he's a spent force, Josh Warrington, and it's harsh for me to say that because he's a likable kid, but he's been matched very, very carefully, and they've had a good run. But they were going to get found out sooner or later, mate. They were, honestly, and it's a bad area that they took a fight with somebody that they couldn't find anything on YouTube about. What sort of fucking managing is that? It's craziness.
Sad.
Craziness.
Sad, mate. What could have been?
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, they were bigging that Kanzu fight up for ages. So they must have known something we didn't. They were building Kanzu up into some sort of monster, and look what happened.
Yeah, Lee Wood's made just easy work of him, right?
Lee Wood made very easy work of him, mate. Very easy work. But okie dokie then. Well, listen, have a good weekend, Chris. Thanks for coming on. I'll get this out within an hour on members.
Yeah, thanks very much, Russ.
No problem. You have a good weekend and all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'll see you later.
Cheers, Chris. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
That was Chris Burns from Chorley. Nice kid, loves his boxing. It's always good to get different opinions on channel. Not everybody's opinion is the same as everybody else's. Not everybody agrees with me. They all have different opinions. That's why we live in a democracy, because we can say what the fuck we want, especially on here, because we don't fear no one. All right. Peace out. Keep on trucking. Keep sporting boxing. Bump, bump, bump. Thank you for joining our members area, the new people. And thank you for them who've continued to be members. All right. Hardcores.